And the heart of my approach to business is the potential of that ripple effect when governments get it right. It probably won't have escaped your notice. This week saw a decade since this country voted to leave the European Union. And however you voted, whatever reasons you had for voting the way you did, I think most of us look back now on the 10 years that have passed and see a lost decade for this country. A decade where small businesses face red tape and trade barriers that have made operations untenable, where business owners face too much uncertainty to plan for the future. We have seen entrepreneurship stifled, innovation crushed, and brakes put onto this country's progress. In fact, many people say it's not just brakes, but actually people tell me it feels like we are going backwards. The consequences couldn't be more stark. Investment, down. Employment, down. Productivity, down. And if you want to use it as a measure, GDP, down. Down 8% lower than it would have been if we'd stayed in the EU. And in the decade since that vote, we have seen unprecedented instability rock our country. A COVID pandemic which wreaked havoc on our lives and our economy. Nearly 400,000 British businesses closing down in just a single year. Putin's brutal and illegal invasion of Ukraine shocked the world. It disrupted supply chains and it sent energy prices skyrocketing. And this year, we have seen Trump and Netanyahu's illegal bombing campaign in Iran sending further shockwaves across the globe. Meanwhile, the impacts of the climate and nature crisis are well and truly with us. And no one knows that better than those trying to keep a business afloat among the chaos and disruption caused by extreme weather. 7 in 10 UK businesses have seen their annual revenue hit by the impacts of the climate crisis, whether that's supply chain issues or flooding. And the impacts could not be starker than what we're seeing this week. Extreme temperatures, leaving trains cancelled. In fact, on my way here, Southwark Station was just evacuated as if to prove my point. Employees unable to get to work, or employers forced to send their workers home because they can't even keep the workplaces cool. And we know this heat wave won't be the end of this extreme weather. Extreme heat like this makes flooding increasingly likely. And we've already seen the devastating impacts of flooding on communities and businesses. And we know that one of the biggest problems that regularly faces small businesses in particular is that they're not covered by flood ray, meaning they've often left to pick up the pieces without financial support after flooding. That's not right. It needs to change. And sadly, the responses we've seen from successive governments have not gone even near enough to meet the scale of the challenges we are facing. Where we need vision, we've had vacillating. Where we need long-term thinking, we've had short-term headline chasing. And instead of grasping seriously with the uncertainties the future holds and how we make this country resilient in the face of them, governments are simply lurching from crisis to crisis. And what's the impact on everyone else and businesses? Well, you've had to scrabble to keep up. From the will they, won't they of the Brexit negotiations, to Liz Truss's catastrophic mini-budget, to this Labour government's litany of U-turns, anyone who just needs to plan for the future, whether you're responsible for employing thousands or you're just trying to get something started on the side, all you can do is make your best guess. And it's not just businesses that have suffered from this decade of instability. It's workers, it's families, it's communities. Skyrocketing food prices, making it harder to put food on the table and harder for small businesses to stay afloat. A few weeks ago, I visited the wonderful Half Bakery. It's a social enterprise in Hackney Wick. And the brilliant owner told me everyone gets the same wage in her business apart from her. Now, when she said this to me, I presumed she meant because she ran it, she got a little bit more. But no, it was the opposite. She isn't even able to pay herself a proper wage because she's rightly committed to making her staff have a proper wage, and her running costs are going up and up and up, and she's the one that's suffering. It's not right. We should be encouraging the kind of boldness and community spirit that it takes to set up a place like Hearth, not shutting it down. And while we allow global events to fling us around like a pinball, we are missing out on so many opportunities. Take oil and gas. We know the North Sea is running dry. That's not a matter of politics. It's a matter of geology. Yet successive governments have simply sat on their hands until the next crisis arrives, like the too little, too late scramble to try and save jobs at Grangemouth. The result? The UK is falling behind. We're seeing skilled workers pushed out of jobs, local economies decline, and young people forced to take low-skilled work or move abroad. And one of the most ridiculous things of all, we are watching the huge opportunity presented by the transition to a renewable energy economy just pass us by as if it doesn't even exist. And it doesn't have to be this way. We are incredibly well placed as a country to make the most of these opportunities, like the huge potential of British North Sea ports to become locations where offshore wind turbines are manufactured and then shipped. We have the skills and infrastructure to be a world leader in a booming industry. All it takes is vision, political will, and a plan. Now, some of you might have some preconceptions about me and the Green Party that in some way we're not interested in what business can offer. And look, plenty of you probably won't agree with me on everything. Some of you might not agree with me on anything, to be frank, but that's fine. I think there's a few things, though, we absolutely can agree on. Firstly, the job of government is to provide long-term stability and an environment in which good business can thrive. That all of us, families, individuals, workers, businesses, we do best when we know what's coming and we're supported to meet it. And that a strong economy, one which enables us all to reach our potential, it must be a resilient economy, a sustainable economy, and a future-proofed economy. Yes, that means adapting to the changes we are seeing as a result of the climate and nature crisis, from extreme weather to global instability. Investing in infrastructure that doesn't break down when the temperature hits 30 degrees. Boosting manufacturing in the UK so we're not perilously reliant all the time on global supply chains. But it also means being really clear about what keeps this country, its economy, and our businesses running. And that's people. Too many governments seem to have forgotten about people, and the consequences of that have been stark. As this country has got sicker, an estimated 148 million working days were lost because of sickness or injury last year. That's 148 million working days. It's huge. And any government that is serious about meeting the needs of businesses must put employee well-being at the heart of policy. From investing in our NHS, particularly prevention and early intervention, to strengthening employees' rights at work, a laser focus on well-being will unlock so much potential in our workforce and the economy at large. And just as the health of our economy relies on the health of our people, so too do people thrive when our economy does, particularly our local communities, local places. They've suffered enormously over the last few years. Independent local businesses forced to close by rising costs, constant bill hikes from rent to energy bills, and then crushed by this government's disastrous national insurance hike. And as a result, people have been left without places to go, to meet, to walk around, to feel part of our community. To bring our high streets and town centres back to life, we badly need more joined-up thinking, from procurement to transport to planning, both at a national and local level. We need policy that starts with a vision for our local places and then pulls every lever imaginable to make it a reality. We need to make sure buses are cheap, regular, and reliable, so people can make the trip into town to go do their shopping. We need to replace empty shop fronts that are a blight on our community and replace them with community organizations. So our towns and our cities, the kind of places people actually want to spend time in. And crucially, we need to tackle the sky-high bills that are decimating local businesses. VAT reductions for hospitality, arts and cultural sectors, reforming the dysfunctional business rate system, replacing it with a land value tax, short-term leases for small businesses on our high streets, and action on rip-off rents and sky-high energy bills. And the final thing that I think we can all agree on is that business is at its best when it has a purpose beyond simply making profit, when it's working for the good of the community, for the good of the country, and a better future. That's why Greens would bring in a Better Business Act to empower businesses to adopt a purpose-led approach, ensuring that business success is pursued in a way that balances the interests of shareholders with those of employees, customers, communities, and of course, the environment. Evidence from B Corps who already embody this approach, it's unequivocal. The result is not only better support for employees and protections for the environment, but also it results in stronger economic performance, a boost for businesses, for our economy, and for people and planet. We're coming to the end of a lost decade for businesses and for communities in the wake of Brexit and amongst a growing climate of instability. It is time to turn the page. I can't promise we'll always agree on everything, but what I and Greens at power at every level can promise is a plan, clarity, stability, a serious vision for this country. Thank you. Thank you.